Barack Obama there. Well, joining me in the studio is Tom Switzer, Research Associate at the United States Study Centre at the University of Sydney. Thanks very much for coming in. Now, you've had the opportunity to listen to that speech. Unemployment is over 9% in the US now. Can he actually improve his poll standing with this Jobs Act?
I find it very hard to believe. I think what he will do is paint the Congress as a do-nothing Congress. There was a key extract there where he said, tell people in America are telling Washington that doing nothing is not an option. I thought that was a key part of his speech, and it reminded me of Harry Truman, the president who presided over the end of World War II and the beginning of the Cold War. He ran his campaign in 1948 against the do-nothing Congress. He just won, and that's exactly what President Obama will do. A problem I think the President has is that the very policy he's trying to put forward here is very similar to the policy he put forward in April of 2009 when he presided over his big spending stimulus package, which clearly has not worked. And I think he's failed to explain here how this stimulus package is any different.
In terms of where the US economy is now, though, it could be argued that there is a slow recovery, but the main problem is that there's no jobs growth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, August showed there was zero jobs growth. As you say, unemployment is stubbornly high, 9.1, 9.2%. And the first 2 quarters of this year, economic growth was only 0.7%. Now, that's the lowest growth rate since the recession officially ended in June, July of 2009. So the widespread fears among a wide range of economists, liberal and conservative, is that the Americans are heading into a double-dip recession. If indeed that happens, then he's in all sorts of trouble. I mean, if you look at the historical perspective, no president since World War II or since the Great Depression, since Franklin Roosevelt, has been re-elected when the unemployment rate is 7.2% or higher.
I know he's got his election prospects to look to, but with some growth in areas of the economy, it's really just employers who don't want to take on new workers. So in a sense, is this stimulus package the right thing at the right time?
Look, there is some of the stimulus package that the Republicans will support and some Democrats will oppose. The payroll tax. He also flagged the idea of revisiting these important bilateral trade deals with South Korea, Colombia and Panama. They've been sitting on the President's desk for the last 2 to 3 years, and he will get support from Congress on those issues. That's an immediate $13 billion stimulus to the economy. So there are some things in the budgetary measures that will be welcomed by Republicans, but I'm not sure the whole package itself will be passed. The Republicans will make sure in the House that they won't support the whole thing.
He's also alluded to Abraham Lincoln as a leader who, despite being a Republican, moved things forward a lot, and obviously that's a plea to the Republicans to maybe put down some of their hard-held beliefs to support the idea of kick-starting the economy in the US. Do you think it's going to work?
No, I'm pretty cynical about this. I think that he, as my colleague Jeff Garrett said on ABC One beforehand, I think that he's talking over the heads of Congress and appealing to middle America. He wants to make the referendum next year at the election on the economy, and that he has a plan, whereas the Republicans are a do-nothing Congress. So I think that his appeal to Lincoln, while it's heartfelt, I think it's more aimed at middle Australia and middle America, I should say, rather than Republicans. The Republicans won't support this bill as it is. There's no question about that. They do control the House of Representatives, and I think one of the big lessons learnt after the congressional elections last year is that the Tea Party, there are about 60, 70 members of Congress, are in no mood to compromise with the President, and the broad cross-section of the Republican Party, I think the centre of political gravity has moved to the right during the Obama era, so it'll make it very difficult for him to implement these kind of big spending policies.
Is this going to change commentators' assessment of where he stands as a president? He hasn't got long to go. A lot of people say that he doesn't appear to be the man that he was some years ago with the audacity of hope. But this was quite a stirring speech in a lot of ways.
Indeed. Look, he does have some problems. Obviously, I've mentioned the problems he has with the Republican and the conservative side of America.
But the perception of him, I guess, as a leader.
Yeah. Well, indeed. I mean, look, his approval ratings are pretty low. They're about 43%, overwhelming dissatisfaction with the way he's handling the economy. And look, more disturbingly, 80% of the American people think the country is heading in the wrong direction. These are not good poll figures heading into an election year. However, The poll numbers for Congress are a lot worse. They're about 80 to 85% dissatisfaction. You think about that. So he's got that in his corner. And the other thing to bear in mind is that 14 months is a long time. It constitutes ages in geopolitical terms. In general terms, a week's a long time in politics. You've heard that before. So a lot can happen. But I think that the problem he's got, though, is that there is no real evidence that the economy is on the mend.
Do you think the markets are going to like this?
No, they didn't like it today in New York, and I suspect they won't like it. I mean, he made a big statement after the downgrading of the credit rating, and the markets tanked afterwards. It fell 300 points on the Dow Jones. So I'd be very surprised if they welcome this.
Tom Switzer from the US Study Centre at the University of Sydney, thanks so much for your analysis this morning.
Thanks, Joan.